Hey now, Deadheads. It's DR.KOBA. We're back with yet another review from the 60th anniversary Enjoying the Ride box that came out in 2025. Been enjoying the ride. I've taken about half of that ride, and it's been a lot, but it's been interesting. It's been instructional, even for like hardcore Deadheads who have the Dave's Pick subscriptions and all the releases. We still find that now they're putting out parts that weren't released in some of those releases. And this is kind of where we're at with this one here with Fillmore East, New York, New York, 1971. We're in April 1971. And for this one here, we're at 425 and 427.71, which is from a run of shows. From what I know, I'm not an expert. I'm not Dave Lemieux, but this is the run of shows that produced the earlier in 2000s, early 2000s set, four disc set called Ladies and Gentlemen, Here's the Grateful Dead, something along those lines. Ladies and Gentlemen, I think it's called. And that's a 4 disc set. It's famous because it has a Dark Star where Tom Constantin comes back, so it's kind of a big celebration. Those shows are famous. I believe the Beach Boys hung out with them and sat in, and so we have a famous run of shows here. And also, more than likely, it looks like here that they're saying that this is a majestic 5-night run in April 71. After closing the Fillmore East in mid-71, where the Dead lost their New York City home, they played numerous locations later after that, including Madison Square Garden, which is where we're going next. So here we have the Fillmore East, only open for 3 years until June 71. The Fillmore East hosted most touring bands that came through New York, including 36 shows by the Dead. Some of the greatest and most famous shows took place here, including 211.69, Dick's Picks, Volume 4 with, the 211, 13, 14, 70, 515, 70, and this run here. And if I'm also not to be mistaken, but I could be, we also have Skull and Roses being taken from essentially the same snapshot in time, which would produce, Skull and Roses, which is one of the best. It's up there with Europe 72. It's just sort of not in the same vein. It's a different version of the Dead. It's a pocket version that only existed in this era where there is hardly any piano. There is no piano player. There's Pigpen, who is still there, but he's only singing and playing a little bit of organ. You can kind of hear it. It's soft, but it's here. It's in. You can hear him on like Bertha and Truckin', and he knows how to play the organ. It's just he's not the organ player. He's just providing some parts. This is an interesting release. It doesn't necessarily have a huge set piece jam in it. What we have here is sort of the leftovers of the Ladies and Gentlemen release. And so on 425, we have essentially the full show. And then we have 427, which I imagine is also the full show. It might be cut up in some ways. I don't have those statistics. I don't have that specifics. But we open with Truckin', kind of getting the sound ready, getting themselves figured out. Kind of just rocking with some Truckin'. We keep hearing Bobby in between songs say they need monitors on. They can't hear themselves very well, so it's interesting to hear them talk and just kind of be conversational. Then at one point, Bobby's like, "Just leave the monitors fucking there, man." So I never heard them swear in front of anybody. It's a funny little bit that they left in. And then later in the show, in the first disc, before Bertha, they play Morning Dew. And before Bertha, they play this great version of Morning Dew, by the way, which is at the end of the disc. Awesome, very good version of Morning Dew. Jerry is playing awesome rock guitar through this whole set. His guitar tone is fantastically overdriven, but it's clear. Bobby is clear, but he's also got this muscular, humbucker type sound. Phil is on fire. Phil is now he has taken up a lot of space, and he's pushing things. His notes are clear, they're perfect. Himself and Billy are really, they become the motor, the engine, and we can hear that because they don't have a piano player. So you have a straight up rock dead, and that's what this is. So, you know, we have Loser, a great early version of Loser. We have Pigman coming in for, you know, like a groovin', hard to handle, and there's a lot of hard to handles on this set. You know, the earlier one from 1971 that's in this set too from Cap Center also had 2 of them as well. So they were really digging that tune at that point in time. You got an awesome Cold Rain and Snow. You have a beautiful Me and Bobby McGee. So it's great. We have a bit of a rarity with Ain't It Crazy, The Rub, you know. I think that one's on Bear's Choice too, but kind of a rarity, different Pigpen type tune. We have, you know, short, compact, early version playing in the band. Awesome. And then we have them announcing that this is a tune that they only do acoustically and that they're just turning it into an electric tune, Friend of the Devil, which is awesome and kind of rough, but they're figuring out how to play it electric. And in 1972, they would reach perfection in many ways. But here we have them figuring out how to be there and how to do it. And so it's interesting. You have high energy Casey Jones. You know, it's like a brand new hot track for them at the point in time. So they're just rocking it out. Like I said, they got this great version of Morning Dew, and then at the end of Morning Dew, you hear Jerry step up to the mic because people are yelling out Dark Star, Dark Star, and he's like, "Where were you 2 years ago when we were playing it every show?" Like, and then they kick into Bertha, which would have been like a brand new tune. He's just like saying, "Screw you guys, you know, we're done being that band right now. We're moving on. Where are you at? We're here. Come with us." And so it's just interesting to hear them be that conversational and confrontational in some way. Next disc, we have pretty much they jam out to get to the end of the show, and you got big 20-minute Good Lovin'. You know, this one's not as good as the Good Lovin's from the Cap Center, I think, from Capitol Theater, excuse me. It was interesting, and Billy's solo was great. And then they sort of just build this weird tentative jam, and Pigpen comes up to the mic and does his thing. He does his rapping. He's kind of just free associating, thinking off the top of his head. It's neat from that angle. It's, you know, take it or leave it when it comes to that song. And then, you know, they do Not Fade Away, and there's this weird Spanish jam sound before Not Fade Away. They like this distorted Spanish jam, and then they go and then Billy kicks into the so they do that. They go into Not Fade. It's Not Fade, going down the road, Not Fade. So it's pretty standard for the era, you know, just high energy rock stuff. And then an encore of Uncle John's band, which was also kind of strange. And you're hearing a different version of the Dead that is not going to exist later in the year. So it's just fun to hear. We go to the next show, 4/27/71. Again, we're opening up with Truckin'. These are self-contained rock versions of Truckin'. Good version of Mama Tried after that too. This stuff is like a cool glass of cold water on a hot day. It just goes down smooth. That's my take on this stuff. We get another version of Bertha, you know, high energy rock stuff. We're deep into Skull and Roses at this point. Awesome version of Next Time You See Me, which would show up later in 72. And then we end with, you know, Rockin' Cumberland Blues to end the disc. The next disc, the last disc on the set, opens up with another great Me and Bobby McGee. It's such a great tune. Such a great tune. I'm gonna move my disc here. And so and then we have another great Loser. We have another Hard to Handle, you know, where, you know, they're just grooving and rocking. You know, that's kind of the modus operandi. We have a China Rider, which is kind of a new. Hasn't yet hit its peak, but China Cat is sort of a holdover from the Psych era, and, you know, into China Rider.
We have then they just do a run of all the new tunes. So they're doing Casey Jones, Sugar Magnolia, Deal, Me and My Uncle. These are all like, it's the new songbook Dead. Awesome version of Bird Song too here, where it's the early version. It's the Dead. It's Jerry's solo album version arrangement of Bird Song. You know, Cool Me and My Uncle. You know, you have just kind of a self-contained Deal. Sugar Mag is Bobby's version. It's kind of just the earlier takes. These are like brand new tunes for them. We have in the final couplet is playing in the band. It's the early version, so it's kind of just short. And then Dire Wolf. Now I love Dire Wolf. I know Opinionated Hippie doesn't, but I do. So, I would call this just as good as the compilation of Ladies and Gentlemen, the Grateful Dead. Like if that box could hold 3 more discs, you would shove all that in there, and you'd have a huge take on that run of shows. There's probably still stuff that they haven't put out yet, but for me, I would say that and Dave goes on here. He says the 2 shows from 425 and 427 are mostly unreleased material, aside from a huge Good Lovin' from 425 that rivals the Princeton version from a week earlier. Don't know if I've heard that one. This Good Lovin' was previously released on the Ladies and Gentlemen Grateful Dead compilation in 2000. So we have got one tune here, one jam that was on that disc. So what you have here is all unheard, unreleased material, which is also making it good. I don't know if you would call this Dave's Picks material because it's not centered around a lot. It would have to be in this kind of form, but it would be celebrated nonetheless. Like it comes from a famous run of shows, and so it gets my pick. If you put the Capitol Theater set with this set from just literally 2 months later, you've got this little snapshot of this band evolving, and they sound more confident here. These tunes are much more filled out and much more played in than from the Capitol Theater in February when they lost Mickey. So from a historical standpoint, if you're a huge Deadhead, this is like gold, and this is also sick. I dig this. So that's my review. 425.71, 427.71 gets the nod as being great. I don't give A+, whatever, man. Like, if it hits you, it hits you. It doesn't, it doesn't. Those kind of things don't really mean much to me. If you enjoyed it, it's good. If you didn't, then that's how you feel. So I would say that this stuff is like, these are why you have box sets. This is what makes that box sets like worth the amount of money that it cost. They could have thrown in one of those nice posters. There is a poster in there, but it's not so hot. They could have thrown in a cooler poster. All I'm saying. But what I'm saying here, very simply, is that the 2 1971 shows and the 1969 show from that box set pretty much make that core worth it. And I'd seek it out if you could, and I'm sure there's ways to do it. So like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and comment if you're hearing me. If you got something to say, I would love to hear it because engagement's cool. But I'm gonna continue on here. We've gone back forward in time now, and I'm currently working on 1987. We're in September 1987. We're at Madison Square Garden. We haven't left the state yet, but that will be coming here soon because that's only a 2-disc show, so it should be pretty quick. DR.KOBA signing off.